The neon haze of a broken dawn. Steel towers hum, but the wild runs on. A shadow moves through the circuits below. Half machine, half beast, with a violet glow. They thought the outback was lost to the flame, but a dingo returned with a coat in his veins. Save up on dingo, racing through the night, claws on chrome, eyes burning bright, guarding a futures the core can't control, running on data but driven by soul.
Just realized I was on mute the whole time. What is up, guys? It is your friendly neighborhood dingo. It has been a very long time since I've actually done my live stream. I think the last time I've done a live stream was when the Iran war started. And what was that, like 3 months ago? And now the war's ending. So it's pretty crazy how long it's been. I think I've just not really found the time to do a live stream, but because I do really love actually speaking to everyone live and doing streams, really, I thought I might just bring it back. And this time we are actually doing it on Twitch as well. It's my first live stream on Twitch, so if you're not on there already, I'd love it if you could actually just go on my stream on Twitch and show some love and support over there as well. I will put the link up in the chat here so that all of you can just have a look. There's actually a bunch of really cool emojis that I believe are on just Twitch, and a lot of these widgets and stuff actually work on Twitch as well, so instead of YouTube. So yeah, head on over to Twitch and show some love. But some other housekeeping things. Once again, thank you very much for joining. The YouTube comments in that, they are generally auto moderated, so just be careful of what might get left there. They might be automatically removed, or they might not even appear on the chat if you generally tend not to leave some nicer comments, I guess. And that is entirely YouTube and Twitch that moderate that automatically. The other thing is, let me know where you guys are tuning in from. Obviously, I know there's a lot of you who tune in from the US. Unfortunately, this is morning in Australia, which means it's like 1 a.m. in Europe, which is unfortunate for our friends in the UK and other parts of Europe that generally watch the channel, whether it be Germany, France. I've got really weird ones. Like I know I've got a bit of a following from the Netherlands as well. Never knew that. Canada, that's fantastic. Welcome everyone. And Ireland, it must be late over there. But thank you very much for joining in from Ireland, and despite it being really late over there. And I actually put up some times this time for Japan and Singapore as well, because I do know Japan, because I've done a few videos on Japan now. Yeah, there seems to be a bit of a growing following from over there too, which is fantastic. So welcome, guys. Thank you very much for watching. And today we have actually got a few videos that I wanted to go through. Obviously, we're starting off in America because a lot of you guys have sent me these videos. They've been just all over my feed. It's in relation to Mamdani endorsed candidates just sweeping New York primaries. which was pretty crazy to see, because I mean, I make it a point on the channel to essentially talk a lot about the Red Green Alliance. I mean, I know you guys are extremely familiar with what that is. And I feel like what we're seeing, and a lot of our American friends I see on Twitter and elsewhere, they're talking about, oh, you know what, we're not gonna become like the UK because we've got the Second Amendment. But I'm not entirely convinced by that argument for a couple of reasons. Number one, during COVID, the same argument was made, and yet we saw very similar results to Europe and even Australia when it came to restrictions and whatever it might be. And also, I do think this is an ideological thing. Like, democracy is essentially being perverted. Democracy is being used to essentially destroy democracy. And in that case, they're doing everything by the book. They're not doing anything that would require a response using the Second Amendment, which is crazy, isn't it? And if you weren't aware of what was going on, I'll just quickly show you this article that I thought was really fantastic, where it gives you a little bit of detail. So I'll quickly read it to you guys, and hopefully I can read some of these names. They're a little bit harder. So it says, the Zomentum is real. Now, if you have seen any of my videos about Mamdani, I've always said, hey, I don't actually believe the guy's a Muslim. Genuinely, I really don't. Like, yeah, he's a Shia Muslim, and I saw him doing the whole Ashura thing, talking about Imam Hussein and whatever. But I'm just like, yeah, he's really weird, because I watched a video of him pray. And I was like, hold on. For a Shia Muslim, he's doing a few moves there, which generally come from the Salafis, who are mostly aligned with the Sunnis. And I'm just like, what the, like, this guy really doesn't have any idea what he's talking about, does he? And the other thing is, like, for a Muslim, and I know Shia Muslims, the Ayatollah Khomeini in Iran, they they do not treat gay people very well in Iran. And I put up a post yesterday on my X as well, saying, hey, in Iran, if you are a gay person, you have essentially very few options. Number one, if you are found out, they're going to flog you and they're going to execute you. Number two, and this is the weirdest thing. If you guys didn't know this, this is crazy. The Ayatollah Khomeini actually wrote that he wrote about transgenderism, and he declared that an illness that can be cured with gender reassignment surgery. So what's happened is, a lot of gay people, the Iranians, the IRGC essentially, they force them to go through this surgery to correct what they would assume is this is really fucked up, actually. What they would assume is an illness. And for a lot of people, it is a matter of life and death. They essentially face execution, or they have to go through this surgery to correct themselves, and that acts as the loophole. And there's this weird thing, therefore, which is very specific to Iran. And I can talk about something else that the Ayatollah Khomeini actually wrote about in his book, around the minimum age of sex. I won't go into too much detail because of how fucked up it is, but he declares that there is none. The IRGC is essentially the Epstein Island. It's the Epstein country in the world. If that is what their spiritual leader essentially wrote as instructions, which is crazy, isn't it? And the problem is, Mamdani and a lot of I guess he wasn't born in the West, but a lot of Western Muslims these days, you look at how they act, how they embrace Western progressive values, and it's very hard to believe. There's two options here. Number one, you're like, okay, this is a lot of tequila, but I don't think that is actually the case. I think Mamdani is a very sophisticated. He's from an elite family. His mum's a filmmaker. His dad was a professor. They were really wealthy Indians from Uganda, which is why a lot of Indians were essentially chased out of Uganda. However, the, I don't believe a lot of people say, "Oh, Mamdani, he's just doing this taqiyya," which, if you guys didn't know what it is, taqiyya is this Islamic concept of deception or lying to deceive your political and religious enemies. But I don't believe it is the case. What I think is he's genuinely a very progressive guy, and he is someone who's playing the game really well. He understands really well that if he wears this costume of his Islamic background, if he wears this costume, like you even see these photos of him, like he's eating with his hands. He's eating like rice and I believe some sort of Indian curry with his hands. But then again, when the cameras are off, like he eats like even burritos with a fork and knife, and I'm like, this is just all an act. He's very, very clever at playing this game. And here's the thing. Therefore I just believe that he wears the whole Islamic thing, the whole Muslim thing as a costume, as a would I call it a skin suit? It's a really great way for him to play this game. But the funniest part to me also is the fact that now it seems like he has endorsed these candidates in Democratic primaries for the U.S. House in New York, and the people that he's endorsed, they have all won. And if you guys know anything about the U.S., especially primaries like this in New York, if you win the uh, Democratic primary, you're just going to get elected because Republicans have no popularity in a progressive state like that. They're just going to lose, and these people are going to become the representatives. So these are the people. I feel like I had to give you guys that bit of background before I just jumped into this. So the people who got elected, Firebrand. I hope I get this name right. Daria Darialisa Avila Cavalia. Jesus, I think I've butchered that. And yes, Mikhail Greywolf. Obama was actually an agnostic. You know what? I believe half of them are probably agnostic or non-religious. Like you look at Donald Trump, he pretends to be a Christian. I feel like, but do we really think he's a Christian? Like, if you think about his background, what he has been doing for what, like the past 30 years or so, does anybody really believe he Donald Trump is a Christian? But that he goes around holding that Bible. Yeah, okay. And his kids were registered Democrats, if I'm not mistaken, before he became the Republican candidate. Now, the other people who got elected, Brad Lander and State Assemblywoman Claire Valdez, and I believe they have all won. Some of them won on razor-thin margins, and it seems with 86% of the votes counted. So, all these people have won, and the reason I'm showing you this is because I want to go through some of the videos that have come out about these individual members that just won the primary. But before I get to that, I did notice something very, very interesting. And this is something I often think about when it comes to elections and even the Red Green Alliance getting really powerful in many countries, especially in Europe. Just have a look at this part, guys. So the people who've lost are saying tonight wasn't our night, blah, blah, blah. But the sweep came despite voter turnout being substantially lower than last year. Approximately 367,000 people voted in primaries via early voting, mail-in ballots, or earlier on Tuesday, as of 3 p.m. on Tuesday. That's just a little over 10% of the 3.5 million registered Democrats in the city. By comparison, more than 1 million Democrats voted in the ranked choice Democratic primary for mayor last year, with Mamdani beating Cuomo by this many votes, or about a 30% turnout. Think about that. It just baffles me sometimes when turnouts are sometimes so low. Like I know even in Democratic base there would be a lot of moderates. I mean, in New York you have a huge Jewish population who've historically been all progressive and Democrats, and yet when the Red Green Alliance, the DSA and the Islamist allies, when they were slowly creeping up and trying to win these elections, did the opposition show up? Did the opposition show up to essentially say, hey, we don't want this. We want to vote against these people? None of that happened. Absolutely none of that happened. They they just did not show up. And sometimes I feel like this is exactly why like I even see this in the UK. Like a lot of complaints go about these elections that happen, and when it comes to the turnout, people just don't show up. They just don't bother. But when the results come, and either the Green Party or Labour once again wins, they're like, "Oh, that sucks." Someone who hates us is now has now been elected. There's complaint, but that's not where it counts. Where it counts is for you to essentially go and vote, to go and get involved in these things. Because this didn't happen, and I've looked up the numbers. I think even in the UK, if you guys weren't aware, the whole Muslim Rights Matter movement, they are so organized. They are really organized. They energize their base. They get everyone to go out and vote. And I believe their turnout in the UK is between like 80 to 90%, which is virtually everybody voting. So suddenly when people are like, "Oh, hold on. Why did why did we lose?" Well, because you didn't show up and they did. That's why. But I guess in Australia there is a bit of a guardrail because we have to vote. For my American friends and my European friends watching from overseas, yeah, in Australia voting is mandatory, and we even have a system called the preferential system, which makes it very hard for these single issue vote or single issue campaigns to actually take place, which is exactly why our version of the Green Party in the UK, or the Greens, their campaign was primarily on Palestine and Gaza. Like they went through the exact same thing we're seeing in the US and the UK, but luckily none of them, in fact most of them, lost their seats. Because while people were struggling with the cost of living, housing, everything, if one party is just hammering on about Gaza and the pan-Islamist movement, yeah, people don't like that. Even the moderate progressives, not even they like that. They ended up voting for the Labour Party, and these far left progressives, they all lost their seats. And I think genuinely, it's probably one of the better. I always say, and I don't think I'm saying this from a point of being biased. I always say Australia probably has the best voting system in the world. Votes are counted really quickly, mandatory voting, so none of those single issue votes, and preferential voting. So you know, um, it's completely unlike the first past the post type voting in the UK. Now, anyways, let's have a look at what these DSA people actually are like and what they say on camera, out loud. Because none of them make it a secret anymore, because it's not dirty anymore to say these things.
Our candidates run as Democrats. We're on the Democratic Party ballot line. We contest the primaries. And when they're in the legislature, they're part of the Democratic Party caucus. But we don't agree with the way the Democratic Party establishment organizes or runs its party apparatus. And so we try to build independence by focusing on volunteer-led movement. We think that everyone should be able to be trained and to become someone who can participate in the political process. And we don't really think that Democratic Party campaigns in the establishment are run that way. And I think you really see that difference in the races like we're having tonight. And I think in terms of the agenda, there's a problem in the Democratic Party where they are funded by billionaire donors, and at the same time, they're trying to represent the working class. And in our opinion, you have to choose between the billionaire class and the working class. It's just impossible to satisfy all of them.
Yeah, sometimes I find it really funny when they pretend to be working class. Like, Mamdani also pretends to be working class. But is he really? Like, his family were extremely wealthy. Like, I believe their net worth is something like over $30 or $50 million. Yeah, that's real working class, I guess. Obviously not as rich as a billionaire, but you're still closer to the billionaire than you would be to the actual working class. And for sure, people were shocked, honestly, seeing these videos. And this is in Texas, believe it or not.
Go. You gotta go. Roll the window down.
Yeah, it's certainly weird to see this. I mean, I grew up. Obviously, I was born in the Maldives, and I spent a lot of my childhood there. And I know, like, the hijab, surely, and even the niqab, as we're seeing in this video, this was something that really wasn't a choice for women. It was something that really did exist as a form of patriarchal control over women. They didn't really have bodily autonomy. Like, everything was controlled. And you know what? Funny enough, even the women would essentially enforce it on each other, which is crazy to me. Then, when I see this in a place like Texas, this is a country that has spent what, like, over 100 years emancipating their women, giving them the right to vote, giving them the right to essentially choose and live their lives the way they want to. And yet, this to me is a sign of reversal. A sign that their freedoms are now being used. But by their freedom, I mean the freedoms that America provides to its people. It's being utilized against its people. Because once again, like, none of this. Like, we're talking about in Houston, 250,000 Muslims, 209 mosques. Population has tripled since 2012, and I always say, hey, look, this is an immigration problem. This is nothing beyond that, really. And why? And again, this is Texas, and that is why I said at the very start of the video, I don't believe the Second Amendment is going to do anything about this. I mean, people immediately, I feel like it's a bit of a cope. They're always like, oh, we've got the Second Amendment, so what happened in the UK isn't going to happen to us. But it is happening. Like, we're seeing it right before our eyes. This is Texas, where it's a conservative state. It's a Republican-led state. I know the place like Houston it has a lot of progressives now because of interstate migration. But have a look at this. Like, this is not what you want to see. Like, women in these black tents. That's just absurd to me. This is what you see in countries where women do not have the freedom to choose. And yet we're seeing this, and because of the freedom of religion, we're being like, oh crap, now we have to accept this, I guess. And it's the same. Whenever I see, like, I go to a shopping center, even here in Australia, I'm like, I see a woman in full niqab, and I'm like, there's a seedy man with her all the time, and I'm always like, what the fuck is this? Really? Like, we are accepting, we are normalizing what we see in Afghanistan. Now, if we see the same thing in Afghanistan, everybody will be like, oh, that's so sad. Oh, you know, young women, girls, they're all being hidden away in these black garbage bags. And we're all so fucking sad about it. But when the same thing happens right next to you, right in your cities, people are like, ah, crap. So we've got to accept this now, I guess, because of freedom of religion. That's their culture. That's their religion. Actually, I think similar to Switzerland, Denmark, many a number of European countries, Poland. I don't know if Japan has a specific rule against. Oh, thank you very much, Quadrex.
Legend. Huge respect and thanks for all your work.
Really, really appreciate that. And you know, when we see those countries, they did put their foot down, and a lot of these countries they do in fact have religious freedom, and yet to protect essentially how women are perceived and the freedoms women have fought so hard to have today, these countries are like, no. Number one, it's a security issue. Number two, it's very disrespectful, really, of our culture and our traditions. This does not belong in our countries. And that is why they went ahead and banned it. And a lot of countries have. And I strongly feel like it does, yeah. Mikhail Greywolf, it genuinely, it's not a bipartisan issue in my opinion. It shouldn't be. I know those old school progressives, they would all agree with me because, you know, it was the left maybe 10, 15 years ago that were really critical of things like forced veiling, the hijab and the niqab. They all were speaking up about it. It's only a modern phenomenon where they've suddenly flipped and they are now on the side of these crazy practices. Now, here's someone who won one of the primaries, and believe it or not, this person, guys, is a convert to Islam. Now, based off the name and appearance, it's hard for me to say. But if this person is an African American, a black person, I always cringe a little bit whenever someone who's an African American or just a black person converts to Islam. You really, I wish they had read up on how Islam treated black people throughout its entire history. Like, they put the transatlantic slave trade to shame.
The curtains are talking to me again.
Do not. Thank you very much for that, no effects. I hope they don't speak to you. All right, let's play this video, and you'll see what kind of person they just elected.
I know that we all deserve a representative who isn't bought by AIPAC. I'm also the only Muslim in my family. I reverted 3 years ago. Actually, the friend who pushed me to do it asked me, why have you fasted for 4 years and yet you haven't taken your shahada? She's here today, and when she asked me that, I thought, that is a great question. And I thought for myself why I hadn't taken the step yet. But it was seeing how all of my friends who were showing up to organizing, who are Muslim, were showing up in the space, and the grace and love and passion that they had in these spaces of social justice, that really pushed me to join the faith. And wanting to make sure that we are reflecting that that I'm reflecting that in every space that I'm in, and that, you know, inshallah, if we make it to Congress, that we're reflecting that in the halls of power as well.
Nice, yeah, inshallah, all that. They immediately, it's really weird. Like you're immediately also succumbing to essentially Arab colonialism, because if they didn't know, this is the most effective, and it's a 1400-year project. It is the most effective form of Arab colonization. You're saying inshallah now, before you know it, you know, your name changes to something Islamic, your children, their name's Islamic, you teach them Arabic, everything just becomes Arabized. And you don't think that's a form of colonialism, not a form of imperialism, at least an imperialism that impacts your mind. You have been subjugated automatically. And it's really weird that she immediately went to APAC and says she's the only Muslim in the family. That's because she converted because of the Palestine issue. And I have said many times on my channel, hey, you can have whatever opinion you have on the war in Gaza, on Israel, on Palestine, whatever it is, that's fine. But please, do not let that cloud your mind, even for a minute, and make you think that Islam is suddenly a good thing. And I feel like it's generally a lot of women who fall for this as well. And it's crazy to me. Because of perceived oppression that you see, you have decided to also subjugate yourself. You have decided to become part of the oppressed class. If you lived in an Islamic country, actually, this is the funny part. None of these people live in Western countries, do they? Sorry, none of them live in Islamic countries. All these converts, they live in free countries in the West. They never moved to Islamic countries. That's the problem. If you really want to experience what it is like to be a Muslim woman, I think the first thing you should do probably is to live in an Islamic country. Suddenly, if she wanted to take that hijab off, maybe she changed her mind. Maybe she did. She doesn't convert back to, I don't know what she was, but maybe she just wanted to take the hijab off because she assumed that it was a choice. Try that in an Islamic country. See how far you get. See how people perceive you. Like, if physical harm doesn't come to you, it's social death. It's how people perceive you. It's how relationships suddenly break down. And you'll be called all sorts of names to essentially shame you into wearing it again. That's simply how it works. And this is the type of thing that feminists in Western countries allegedly have been fighting against for a very long time. But you cannot be both. You cannot be a feminist and you cannot be an Islamist, because that is exactly what this person is. I mean, I know a lot of people are like, hey, there's no difference between Islam and Islamism. Now, in this case, I'm talking about Islamism or Islamist in the political sense. And in this case, I feel very strongly that this person has now become an Islamist because of the of the Palestine issue. This is not something that comes from someone who is very intelligent. It really isn't. And there's more actually from her that's come out, where she has said certain things that I feel are really, really concerning. That's 2.5 million views actually. So, divestment is not an incrementalist goal. True divestment necessitates nothing short of the total collapse of the university structure and an American empire itself. It is not possible for imperial spoils to remain so heavily concentrated in the metropole and its high cultural repositories without the continuous suppression of all populations that resist the empire's expansion. I mean, I have no idea what she's talking about. Who she's talking about here? The working class in America, or is she talking about people in other countries? To divest from this is to undermine and eradicate America as we know it. That's the crazy thing to me. Like, I feel like a lot of these people are just so brain dead. They stand as now elected representatives of the very same empires they hate so much. And yet they don't understand that, you know, for a woman and now a convert to Islam, someone who fucking hates America and says she hates America and wants to destroy it, the fact that you are able to get elected on what, 7 to 10% of the voters turning up to actually vote, suddenly representing over 3 million people, and they are so blind to the fact that that is actually a privilege of living in a free country like the United States of America. You say this in any other country. You say this in Pakistan or Bangladesh or Yemen or Syria. Yeah, you're not, half of the time, you're not getting out alive. Even if you think about other countries like, I don't know, cartel-run countries like Mexico or even places like Colombia, like, where it's not politically stable, you're in a lot of trouble. If your explicit stated goal is for the destruction of the country, and that is your platform, and also your platform is your pan-Islamist goals, and you are able to get elected, yeah, how blind are you to what is really going on? Because if you destroy that empire, yeah, you're getting removed, lady. You're getting kicked the fuck out of that position. Because this has happened already in Iran, for example. This has happened in Lebanon. All these countries stand as great examples of how progressives try to ally with these leftists. They come out and say, hey, we want to destroy, like in Iran, they wanted to destroy the Shah and his government. And they successfully did that. But think about the Tudeh party in Iran. They were one of the core progressive factions that helped get the Ayatollah Khomeini in power. And literally, the crazy thing is that literally, within like the first week, Khomeini was like, I am the law. And like executed 40,000 of them. Thank you very much, guys, I guess. This is how stupid they really are. And of course, they're like, we act in full support of the Palestinian resistance. Blah, blah. Yeah, I am, you know, like, if that is your entire position, that's just crazy. And I believe this is also the person, once again, you can see what she said. I forgot to get napkins, so I just wiped my hand on the American flag behind me. Yeah. These are the type of people who essentially now elected representatives of a large state. Well, potential representatives of a large state like New York. It's just absolutely insane. And it, you know, reading through some of the comments here, like something just occurred to me. I almost think like now I wonder if they perceive this to be some sort of extraction of the jizya. Now that you are an Islamist, is that how they perceive? I really do wonder. Like, have they read far enough into Islamic theology and its fundamentals where they're like, oh yeah, this is pretty good. Like I've got my progressive goals stated here, but what about my Islamist goals? Is this my way of extracting jizya, making the infidels pay up? Is this how I do it? Because I've now run into a gold mine. That is how I feel. A lot of these people would actually think. And here, like, I've actually saved a few of them. And here's another person who got elected. This is a Palestinian woman who's one of the other ones who got elected. And listen to what she had to say.
And so, like, and finding that, like, you know, the system of capitalism and racism and white supremacy, etc., have all, and Islamophobia have all been used, you know, to colonize lands, right, to take resources from other people. And so this is like a long trajectory. And we're just seeing the manifestations of that continuation, right, with 9/11. And so a lot of times when people are asking us to respond about, you know, attack, right? If you look back, like historically, right, you know, a lot of us come from lands that were colonized, lands where wars are being waged, right? A lot of times because of U.S. policy or the policies in Europe. And so I find that we can connect over that, but then also that the idea that we have to apologize for like a terror attack that like a couple of people did, and then there is no apologies or reparations for genocides and for slavery, etc., is something that I kind of find like reprehensible.
Jeez, that's a bunch of it's a bit of word salad there, isn't it? A bunch of buzzwords that she's just come up with. But it's really weird when she says 9/11 happened because of colonization, and it's was it Ilhan Omar who said something like, oh, a bunch of people did something. Like, it echoes, she's echoing that statement as well. She's really minimizing what 9/11 represented and how it changed the world. It almost felt like, you know, it fractured the timeline. Like, everything changed everywhere in the world. And she's talking about colonization. I believe this person's Palestinian, so probably Arab. Colonization. An Arab person complaining about colonization. That is very interesting to me. Has she ever asked herself the question, how did Arabs in the Arabian Peninsula end up as far as Spain and North Africa and even Palestine? What happened when they spread out and waged war on the Byzantine Empire? What happened? What were they doing? What were they doing to Spain? What did they try to do to France? What was all of that? That was colonization. What did the Ottoman Empire do? This is entirely colonization and jihad. And she's talking about 9/11 as if you could separate that from the religion itself. As if religion itself is not a significant driver of their actions. Thank you very much,
It's not
Citizen Vigilante.
colonization when we do it.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. It is not colonization when we do it. In fact, I actually read a comment on Instagram a few weeks ago, and it was essentially talking about the Reconquista. And so a lot of the top comments actually were left by Muslims, and they were like, "Oh, we didn't colonize Spain. We ruled Spain." And I'm like, what the fuck does that even mean? Are you serious? Like, they're using wordplay to try and diminish the fact that they colonized all these countries, destroyed indigenous peoples, their cultures, their languages, all of that they destroyed. And now, yeah, this person's saying essentially 9/11 is the fault of Americans themselves. I mean, this is what, you know, famous progressives like Hassan also said something like, hey, 9/11 was essentially, America deserved it, and shit like that. That is exactly what they said. And it is just absurd to me that these people are now getting elected after saying shit like this. And she said even more. Let's see what she had to say.
Immigrants that are living in fear of ICE every single day. What can we do to resist this? We are calling for abolishing ICE and agents who live to exceptionalize who gets to be part of this country. My parents were both undocumented, and I remember my parents speaking about what to do. Should they leave the country? Where should they hide if an ICE agent comes to the home? Immigrants that are living in.
Hold on. I actually didn't know this part. Hold on. You were undocumented. You found refuge in America. The American people gave you refuge. They protected you. And now you have been elected to represent the biggest party, or one of the two biggest parties in the country, in one of the biggest states in the country. And yet you are working to undermine and destroy the country that gave you all of that. Okay, I mean, perhaps you and your parents should have stayed from where you fled. Because it sounds like you're trying to turn America into that place. And yeah, my Brighton, it really is the case. Like, to put it simply, yeah, they do hate you. Which is absolutely insane. Also, if you think about it, what ICE is doing is the, I guess, the remigration thing. They are enforcing laws, and these people, because it's a really crazy line of thinking that they hold, because they believe that nobody can be illegal because this is stolen land, and therefore everybody all over the world that have the right to move to, say, the United States, and they even use the same logic in Australia. And in the UK, they use the logic of, okay, you guys were part of that colonization. You went to all those countries, so now you deserve the reverse version of colonization.
What do you think of movie Citizen Vigilante?
Well, Citizen Vigilante, I haven't actually seen it yet. I know Elon Musk put it up on X, but I've not gotten time to watch it yet. But once I do watch it, maybe I can do a review. I can talk about it on the channel, because I saw some scenes, and yeah, it reminded me of what's that movie with Gerard Butler? Maybe someone in the chat can help me. Gerard Butler, he did a very similar movie where I believe his family gets killed at the start, and then he goes out to try and get rid of everyone. And it has got Jamie Foxx in it as well, who's a lawyer who tries to help him, and is doing all this shit from like inside a prison. So it's a really cool movie. Also, I guess it kind of reminded me of the Punisher. Once again, very similar. Loses his family and then goes out and tries to get a lot of people. But this time, this version of, I guess, the Punisher goes after people who are doing some real bad shit in real, in places like Europe. Yeah, and this is, have a look. Just 7% of the voters, mostly white and under 30, pick Israel-hating radicals to represent Dems. I don't. Yeah, law-abiding citizen. Correct. That's the one. Really great movie. I really enjoyed that. Now, these the way the New York Post it's represented it. I'm not sure I entirely agree with it, saying Israel hating. I think it's more accurate to describe them as part of the Red Green Alliance, and also as an Islamist alliance. I think that is a way more accurate way of representing them. Genuinely. Because that is what they are. Because after, you know what? If Israel disappeared tomorrow, as a hypothetical, if it disappeared tomorrow, are we really saying that the green side of the Red Green Alliance won't have any Islamist goals to achieve? They will continue going. Once the Jews are gone, we all know who's next. And we all know what their complaints are going to be. And it just goes on and on and on and on until they have a voting population large enough to subvert democracy, which is exactly what happened in many, many cities and councils in the UK. It is exactly what happened. And what is that? 6% of the population. And there's such a powerful voting bloc. Such a powerful voting bloc. And if you think about it, the grooming gangs happened when the population, I believe, was like 3%. Their population was just 3% of the total. And yet the institutions were that scared. So that is half. And yet the institutions were that scared they covered the whole thing up. That is how crazy that was. Now, okay, apparently there's some sort of victory speech here. Let's have a... Oh, and they sing some sort of revolutionary song. Let's have a... girls. All right, going through a comment here. She's from the Dominican Republic. Oh, to get fused with Haiti. That's pretty crazy to me, because I feel like the Dominican Republic has very strict border controls with Haiti, because the two countries, despite sharing the same island, could not be further apart. It's probably one of the crazier political or geopolitical stories in the world. The Dominican Republic and Haiti. I would think if they fuse those two countries together, the Dominican Republic is done for. They are gone, because Haiti is a failed state. Are there like gangsters, like cannibal gangsters, who are in charge of Haiti, or they used to be, at least for a while? And I remember, like, prior to that, just whenever someone talks shit about Haiti, like, all these celebrities immediately jump on and they're like, oh yeah, Haiti's Haiti is so beautiful, and Haiti is already great. They say shit like this, and now I believe, actually, the Supreme Court in America, I believe they are about to cancel some sort of protected status or temporary asylum status for a number of Haitians, and they are about to get sent back. And suddenly, all these progressives are like, no, hold on, wait a minute, Haiti is actually a fucking shithole. you you cannot send them to Haiti because it sucks. But hold on, hang on. You were saying it was beautiful. You were saying it's a great country. What's happened? Both things can't be true at the same time. Oh, Sneako's from Haiti as well. Oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. It does make a lot of sense. And I think this conversation has really spurred a lot of people to think about America's future. A lot of people have suddenly been like, okay, we really are. Like, if you think about it, even on a surface level, what you don't want, and we've seen this throughout history, what you don't want is for people who hate your country, they hate your people, they hate the fundamental laws and culture and attitude and traditions that built a country. America is not a perfect country by any means, and I said the same thing about Australia. Australia has done bad things in the past. Like, and I've always said, you know what? Like, Australia's history with the Aboriginals is part of its dark history. But the only thing you can do in the modern day is try to fix that, to try and fix inequality, education, all these things. That is the only thing you can do. That is much better than going back and saying sorry, or, because you can't change the past. And America is the exact same thing. They did have slaves, but today they are one of the freest countries in the world, bar none. Like, whether it be freedom of speech, freedom of religion, like, it is so next level compared to even a country like Australia. Australia, funny enough, if you guys didn't know, is the only country that does not have net positive migration into the US, which means more people move from the US to Australia than the reverse. And it's the only country like that, which is which is pretty funny to me. And I think because of those conversations, people are like, have people like Ilhan Omar, and Ilhan is very clever at the background that she plays. She pretends like she's from this really oppressed class of people, and yet the reality is her father was a general who was part of carrying out atrocities against the people of Somaliland, or a different is it a tribe or a people? Maybe someone can correct me on the chat. She was part of the oppressor in Somalia. She was not part of the oppressed group, and yet her general father, as a military general father, and she can come to America and sell this story that is the complete inversion of reality. and when she gets accused of not assimilating, here's a really good response to this.
caawa aan fursad u helay madaxweynaha Soomaaliya madaxweyne Xasan Sheikh Maxamuud inaan maanta ku soo dhaweyno Minneapolis aniga iyo madaxweynaha special relationship aan qabnaa aniga adeeraan ugu wacaa asigana gabarteeyu idhahaa madaxweyne sidii qof kasta uu yiri mininkaaga waaye ku soo dhawow Minneapolis aad iyo aad aan ugu faraxsanahay in maanta madaxweynaheena aad tahay Soomaaliya dadka meeshaan wada joogo dhan waa gurigooda annaga ma dareensannihin in ay naga tahay meel naga fog Soomaaliya wadnaheenay ku nooshahay qalbigeenay ku jirtaa maalin kasta aan ka fikirnaa Soomaaliya
Yeah, did you guys know if what is it called? Crap, the word actually is escaping me. Starts with an R. Fuck. How have I forgotten the word here? I'm having a blank. But all the Somalians outside of Somalia, if they, I believe all the money they send to Somalia is probably like more than its entire budget. And if they stop sending that money back to Somalia, the country of Somalia would genuinely collapse. But beyond that, yes, remittance. Thank you very much. Yeah. So it's essentially a country that is essentially upheld by money that's remitted back to the country. And beyond that, this is the crazy part about what Ilhan Omar just said here. She calls the Somalian president our president. She still calls Somalia home. She's talking about how she's still always thinking about Somalia, and she's essentially campaigning for this president. Her president, it doesn't appear, is the president. The president of the United States is not her president. Her president is the Somalian president. What she is doing here is so sectarian. This is what a parallel society is. So how can you say you have assimilated? Like, this is why I find genuine refugees, whether it be former Muslims, people like Christians and Jews, and a lot of these people who were really oppressed by Islamic rule. When they move to a lot of these countries, they just shed all that from their past and become extremely patriotic because they understand what it is really like. And this is why I started by saying Ilhan, her sob story that she tries to sell to everybody, it's so fucking fake. And you can see, even in speeches like this, why she's still able to relate to Somalia, call it her home, and essentially campaign for this foreign president. Because she benefited from all that oppression. Her family benefited from the wealth that came from oppressing people from, that separatist area called Somaliland. How can you say this is assimilation? There is genuinely nothing that you can show me to say someone like this has assimilated. This is an inversion of what assimilation means. And I believe there was even like a lot of people actually quoted this. Where the quote? I can't even see the quotes. A lot of people actually posted videos saying she had not assimilated. And actually, I saved this because this is a great point for New York. And it might actually explain why a lot of these voters are voting this way. So New York is now about to stabilize like 1 million units or something like that. You can see all those units that are rent stabilized, 44% of the people who live in them were born outside of the US. So think about how this is working here. Think about it this way. People who are benefiting, it's like the leering centers again. It's like the leering centers. It's like the NDIS scams. It's like these people are charging you jizya. The productive part of society are going to work. You can actually have a look at even some of the other ethnicities like Asian, non-Hispanic. Like that's 11%. That's such a small percentage of people who live in rent subsidized housing. All these people are working to subsidize people who were born outside of the US. And if you remember who voted for Mamdani when he was elected, it was primarily people who were born outside of New York and outside of the US. And the same thing is playing out yet again. They hate America so much. And also, once they're elected, their goals aren't to benefit Americans. Americans, yeah, you know that saying, America first? It seems like for a lot of people, it is America last. Genuinely. And it's not far-fetched to say that, considering they make it very open. They openly say to you, they're wiping their hands with the American flag. They're trying to take down the American empire. America deserves the worst terror attack it's ever experienced. All that shit. So is it really a major surprise? And Amy Meck, she's someone who's very open about the Islamization of America, and she's someone who does a lot of good work in exposing this stuff. And I actually saved this post, which I thought was really, really interesting, as to how the whole Islamization effort, how that happens. Brad Johnson, thank you very much for subscribing. I actually forgot to say this. If you guys check out the Twitch link that I have pinned here, give me a follow. If you have an account, give me a follow. I have actually put a bar down here. I know you guys can see it, where if you give me a follow on there, we have made it a goal to hit 50 by the end of July. So please go and give me a follow over there, because I'm trying to grow my following. We'll counter the cockroach Hassan Piker on Twitch. I will bring a can of insecticide to Twitch. That is my jihad on Twitch. So so please hit the link. Give me a follow over there. I'll highly appreciate it. And for every follow, I will spray him down. Thank you very much. Oh, there you go. Sneaky Sneaky Ding Dong. Thank you very much for the follow. You are my first follower on Twitch. So congratulations. I really appreciate it. Now, okay, let's have a read, because I think this goes back to that voter turnout thing, which I think actually applies not just to the US, but it actually applies to essentially all most of Europe. Australia is an exception because of what it is like. So it goes, we keep hoping Trump or the next strong leader will save America from Islamization. He won't. And neither will any future president who actually wants to win. Here's why. Any candidate serious about the White House must pander to the Islamic vote. Not because they love it, because that bloc shows up. They vote in lockstep. They treat every election like a war. Now, while millions of Americans stay home on election day, thank you very much, Pickle Tooth. A lot of these names. Thank you very much, Pickle Too Thick, and the other one, Sneaky Ding Dong. You guys are fantastic.
Hassan beta orbiters are the worst.
You are right. Remember that orbiter? I believe she's also a streamer on Twitch. The one in the hijab. I've forgotten her name, but they all played into a funny trap set by fuck. My brain is not working today when it comes to remembering certain names. Must be the time of the day. They're really obese YouTuber. He set up a nice trap for them. Yeah, Frogan. Yeah, and I wonder what happened to her. Like I didn't really catch up on what ended up happening. Oh yes, Ethan Klein from H3H3. Yeah, that was a really funny thing that he did. I didn't expect him to do it, but actually, you know what? Ethan Klein is a great example of the leopard eating his face. Ethan Klein taught the progressive movement by joining it and becoming this retarded leftist. He really thought that he would not be, he would be an esteemed Jew that they would not come after. But they did. What do you think, mate? Your wife served in the RDF. Of course they were going to come after you. Nobody is safe. Like, this is how arrogant some of those, it is literally the Red Green Alliance. How it works every single time. The green completely consumed the red there. Completely destroyed him. Now, going back to this. Sorry, I got distracted there. While millions of Americans stay at home on election day, organized Muslim communities turn out at 80 to 93%. That's how they flip school boards, city councils, and even mayoral races with just a few thousand disciplined votes. Look at New York City. Even with non-stop national coverage, only 42% of the city voted. But Muslim voters turned out at 93% and 97% of them backed their candidate, Zohran Mamdani. Result? New York City got its first Muslim mayor. Low turnout didn't just cost an election, it surrendered a major American city to Islam. It's also crazy that New York City is where this is happening. Where 9/11 happened, where there were attacks before 9/11 as well, if you didn't remember that. And yet it is where that is happening. Now look in Michigan. Trump needed that state, so he went straight to the Islamic community that votes as one. They stood beside him and said they were fighting for America great again through peace and justice. Trump heard normal words, peace and justice. They meant something very different. As I've explained for years, in Islamist doctrine, peace only comes when the world submits to Islamic rule. Justice means Sharia. Yeah, that is actually true. I mean, I've explained this many times on my channel before. Islam, if you guys haven't heard this before, Islam splits the world into two parts essentially: the Darul Islam and the Darul Harb, which is the abode of war. It's a really weird way how Islam really functions. Essentially, it's so countries that are Islamic, it will see as part of Darul Harb or abode of Islam, and the rest they feel like they believe are the abode of war are areas that need to be conquered and brought into the abode of Islam. So in many ways, they are always in a perpetual state of war. That is what we want to essentially, that is what a lot of these people believe and what we try to prevent. And here's the thing. It says this is a trap. We cannot outsource our survival to one politician. Every president or candidate who wants power will eventually court the group that reliably shows up and delivers blocks of votes. The only way to stop the pandering is to make pandering to Islam politically suicidal. That means we show up in high numbers than they do. Every single election, school board, city council, state rep, Congress, no more my vote doesn't matter. No more waiting for a savior. We take our local communities back first, then the culture, then the country. Because if we keep sleeping while they vote in lockstep, the next savior will just be another politician doing what it takes to win. Let me actually correct Amy here. The next savior will not be some guy who will try to save you. The next savior will be a person like Mamdani. That will be the savior. And he's not there to save you. He is there to save his voting bloc. He is there to save his pan-Islamist movement. That is what he'll be saving. And a lot of people do, they really do misunderstand that, you know, this is a race against the clock. It really is. People always think like whether it be the UK or even in Australia, I always see this like in certain electorates, certain suburbs, those suburbs are already gone because the population has changed, the voter base has changed. If your suburb or electorate is suddenly 70%, like perhaps it was, I don't know, 1% Muslim maybe 30, 40 years ago, and suddenly if it is 70% Islamic, there's no coming back from that. There's no reversing that trend. And that suburb or electorate, whether it be some token, you know, progressive, like even here in Australia, we see some token Labour Party politician, a white person usually, a white woman usually, they will put up as their candidate. They'll parachute them in, and yet it doesn't really matter what they think or believe because they will always bend to what the electorate are after. This is what, ironically, this is what happened to the most important person in.
Do you think someone like Mohammed Hijab or Ali Dawah will one day be the head of the UK, if things continue to get worse in the UK?
Thank you very much, Citizen Vigilante. No, I actually don't believe Ali Dawah or Mohammed Hijab are sophisticated enough to be political leaders of an entire country like the UK. But before someone like that becomes say the Prime Minister of the UK, I feel like something else might happen. I think I've done a few videos on this. Military, someone who studies militaries and history of war, a professor, he wrote about how the UK is the #1 candidate for a civil war to kick off in Europe. And once he did some really good statistical probability calculations, and I think it stood at such a high percentage once everything was factored in. So no, I don't. I actually think like Red Eyed Roos official here says, I think a party like Reform or Restore are more likely to come into power than someone who cannot produce more than one pair of grandparents like Muhammad Hijab or Ali Dawah. I think that's a more realistic chance. And like Skynet here says, One Nation is our best chance. One Nation is Australia's version of reform, I guess you could say, or Australia's populist right wing movement. Their popularity exploded when post the Bondi attack, post people seeing how the government reacted to Bondi, the worst terror attack in Australian history, where multiple people, including children, died. Like, that was the point when everything started to change. Like, I genuinely would have never ever thought One Nation, led by Pauline Hanson. Pauline is now in her 70s. I would have never thought. I mean, I always expected a populist movement to come about because, you know, like you would have to be very arrogant to think the populist movements we're seeing in America and Europe would not come to Australia. And I always assumed it would come. I actually had thought that maybe the Liberal Party, like a faction within the Liberal Party, for all my American friends, the Liberal Party in Australia is actually the Conservative Party, which is a weird naming thing there. But I always assumed they would be the populist right wing party, or a faction would essentially fracture it and take over, and that would be how the movement comes about. But turns out One Nation is Australia's moment. And you know what? Like, I feel like in the US, what we're seeing now is also a populist left-wing movement. That is what is taking over. The Democrat Party. That is exactly why people are so concerned about what's happening. There was actually a Tucker Carlson clip here somewhere. Oh, here we go. And I feel like if this is the right wing, if these are the conservatives, man, we are in trouble. But I also think Tucker Carlson has been paid a few $1 million by Qatar. I genuinely think so. Like, nobody says this shit with a straight face unless they are being paid. This is propaganda. Just listen to what he has to say.
Are delusional for a bunch of different reasons. I don't think that's an Israeli-specific phenomenon. We felt a little bit of that after 9/11, when people bought the lies about there were many lies about 9/11, but the net result was to convince Americans that they were under siege from global Islam, that there were a billion people trying to kill them. I felt this way myself. And many times I said on television, the problem is Islam, the problem is Muslims. Like, they all want to kill us. They're all crazy. They're all in this lunatic suicide cult created by Muhammad in the 7th century. And I believe that. I was hysterical. I believed that. Now, that's not true. Nothing about that is true. But I believed it. So it's a little harder for me to judge Israelis when they're like, every Arab, Christian or Muslim, it doesn't matter. Arabs are by definition committed to the extermination of Jews, and we must kill them before they kill us. Like, they believe that.
Yeah, that's I don't even know what this guy's talking about. Thank you very much for the follow on Twitch. Really appreciate it, JP Flanagan. And if you want to support me, please head on over to Twitch. Give it a watch over there, actually. And hit that follow button. Thank you, Pickle Too Thick, for your comment. Actually, seems like I have to approve it. Do I have to approve that comment? No, I don't. I think I'm just getting used to the Twitch comments. Check out the emojis I've created for Twitch. They're actually pretty good. I don't know if yeah. Actually thought these were really funny. Yeah, and you get I think if you use the emojis on Twitch, you can see them flying around on the screen as well, which is fantastic. Thank you everyone who's watching on Twitch at the moment. Now, back to Tucker Carlson. No one could say this unless they are paid to say this. And clearly, considering what he has said about Qatar, how often he has been to Qatar now, and the politicians he meets in Qatar, he said something. He said really famously that he was going to buy a house over there. Qatar is one of the main financiers of terrorism in the world, Islamic terrorism in the world. And it's crazy that he can say that the problem is not Islam. Now, even if he could separate a lot of Muslims, like, a very small minority of Muslims who are progressive, they disregard all they cherry pick the good parts and disregard everything about Muhammad that really forms the fundamentals of Islam. He didn't say any of that. He just put out a blanket statement about Islam. And then he says that this thing, that apparently we were taught that this is a lunatic cult created by Muhammad in the 7th century. And apparently, no, none of that is true. Well, it is true. Of course it is true. Think about a lot of religions in the world right now. And then think about the cults. If you look at a lot of cults, it's very hard to leave them without some severe repercussions. They come after your families, they stalk you, they physically harm you, they harm you in other ways. What does Islam do in at least 13 countries in the world today? They punish apostasy. They either throw you in jail or they execute you. And this person is saying that it is not a cult? Like, do you hear yourself, Tucker? But then again, like, if you think about Tucker Carlson, it's very obvious to anybody. Like, if you remember, and I try to make this a point when we're talking about his back and forth that we often see, when he was talking about the stolen election stuff in 2020, he would go on camera and tell people, oh yeah, you know what, the election was stolen, there was fraud, whatever, Dominion this, Dominion that. He would talk about that. But when Dominion sued Fox News, a lot of his private messages got revealed to the public. And it revealed that he was texting his friends and his colleagues and all that everything that he was saying on camera was complete bullshit. He was like, Trump's lawyers were full of shit. There is no evidence of any sort of fraud. We are in complete trouble, and he could not wait until Trump was out of the White House. He said all this. It is like, that is out there in court documents. And yet he would go onto Fox News and tell his viewers the complete opposite message. So you can imagine the type of shit he is doing today. He is a very, very clever person. And he's very good at manipulating his audience. And I believe that is exactly what he's doing. And honestly, these days, I feel like he's courting. And I believe some other podcasters have also said this, because they have realized that after the Israel issue, like a lot of the Islamic population in places like Pakistan, Bangladesh, parts of the Middle East, and even India, really, which has a very large Islamic population, they realize this is a really large... Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, Al-Zataka Gatarsan. Yeah. They've all realized, wait a minute, this is a really large audience we can tap into. This is an audience of almost 2 billion people, and we are going to get that audience. Because if we have abandoned our old audience, which is, really pro-West, pro-America, whatever it may be, but now we almost, it's the horseshoe theory. We are saying very similar things to the far left. Yeah, let's try and court that audience and show it up. Yeah, speaking of Al-Zat, for the World Cup, I don't know if you guys have been following that. There is a pride round happening. And Iran and Egypt have been selected to play in the pride round to Islamic countries, and they're really mad about it. And I have recommended, instead of calling it the pride round, they should probably call it the Al-Zat round. And apparently, like, all those guys, they're like, oh, we're gonna walk off if you try to make us do anything like wear like a rainbow armband, or do anything related to pride or LGBT. We're just gonna walk off. But guys, here's the thing though. Don't you like Egypt, Morocco, Iran, whenever they have scored a goal, why do they bend over in the middle of the football pitch like Muhammad did with the Al-Zat? What the fuck is that about? You are already taking part in the Al-Zat round by celebrating like that. They are effectively emulating what Muhammad did in the night of Al-Zat. I wonder how many ex-Muslims are actually on Twitch, because I don't know if there is many. I might be one of the first people to talk shit like this about Muhammad on the platform, but it is really, really funny to read.
Tucker encouraged Pakistani migration and said they share more with Christians than Jews. I think Tucker's house should host many Pakistani families.
Yeah, I actually remember that. I think he said something like, "Oh, actually, he was in a taxi with a Pakistani person, a Pakistani driver, and apparently he has a lot in common with that person." Well, Tucker, how does Pakistan treat its Christian population? I think that's the question you should have asked that taxi driver. And I did a video the other day talking about how Tucker was saying that the Ottomans, Muslims, actually treated the Christians very kindly, and they even protected the churches, Jesus's tomb, and apparently, what was it that he said? Yeah, apparently even protected pilgrims and didn't even charge Christians any taxes. Like, I don't know how you could invite someone and say shit like this to you. And I believe that podcast got like millions of views. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, this is this is just an inversion of reality. Like, none of this is real. And yet he's telling his audience, I'm assuming not very educated, he's telling his audience, hey, I am like that church that he was talking about. JD Hall was saying that Muslims were the ones who protected it and rebuilt it, which was so insane to me because it was Muslims who destroyed it in the first place. When they used iron hammers to destroy it to its foundations and realized they couldn't destroy it even more, they burnt it down. That is how crazy they were. And this pilgrim thing, which is crazy to me as well, because the first crusade was literally called because Christian pilgrims were being massacred. And Tucker and his guests were talking about, oh, yeah, and there is the Hagia Sophia as well. That stands as evidence, does it not? Like, that stands as the primary evidence because there's still paintings that are covered up inside of what it actually looked like back when the Byzantines were in charge. That was taken over, and the Christians who took refuge inside the Hagia Sophia when the Ottomans when the Muslims, when they broke through, all of them were massacred inside that church. And a lot of women and children were taken as slaves. That is how they treated Christians back then. So for him to go on and say all this nonsense, it's just absolutely insane. To platform someone like that. That is why I say, like, this is propaganda. This is someone paying him to say all that shit. and I know there's someone who Tucker, what is it? Tucker Carlson converts to Islam bingo. It's really funny. Oh, here. Yeah, he's said a couple of things now. He's not too far away. Yeah, it's not long before he converts. Actually, this is a good one. Praises Dearborn, Michigan. I'm waiting for him to actually say that because it is a point that a lot of Americans are really unhappy about when they see what has happened to Dearborn. So for him to go on and say, "Hey, this is actually great," would break the right or the conservatives who support him, I think. And yeah, didn't he say he was actually possessed by a demon at one point? Yeah. Has he approved? Yeah, quotes a hadith approvingly. Has guessed who converted to Islam. I'm surprised he hasn't had one yet. Praises of Qatar. Why isn't this ticked off? I'm pretty sure he has praised Qatar many, many times. He has praised Saudi Arabia. He has praised a lot of Islamic countries that execute Christians and essentially ban Christians from preaching their faith or even practicing their faith openly. Not just Christians, anybody else. Nobody else can do it openly in many of these countries. He is possessed by a jinn, like an Al-Zat jinn. That is yeah, the type of person he is. Now that we have done a bit over an hour and a half, I thought maybe we can move on to some other topics, some more fun. Yeah, I don't know. Have you guys been watching the World Cup? Because I have been following the World Cup. I think the scores are actually up on one of my screens here somewhere. Australia has done really well. They have qualified, but you know what? I have been really impressed by the US. Like the first game I watched when they played Paraguay, I was like, yeah, they are playing like Brazil from 10 years ago or something. They were fantastic. But they lost against Turkey. I don't know, like maybe they gave up. But you know what? The US, they'll have their revenge during Thanksgiving, where a lot of turkeys they'll have on their dinner plates. That will be their revenge. And you know what? No matter what Erdogan says, no matter what he complains about, I will continue calling it Turkey. I will never call it Turkey or whatever the fuck that they want us to call it. It's insane when they say it on TV. Call it Turkey, asshole. I'm not gonna call it anything else. Now that is, you know what? I've been really enjoying the World Cup. I still think now, obviously, I want Australia to win it. I don't think they'll go all the way because I think our potential fixtures are really difficult. If we get Iran, potentially we could beat them. Could probably beat Egypt as well. But any team like Argentina or Germany or anybody like that, yeah, I don't think that's happening. Unless you play haram ball and just park the bus, not happening. Now, going to this thing, I saw this topic on GTA 6. Apparently, they have already surpassed $3 billion in revenue. And I actually went on the PlayStation website to have a look at prices in Australia, and I was shocked. They are selling it for like, I think the Ultimate Edition, which was causing all this controversy, where they locked like a lot of shit behind paywalls. In Australia, GTA 6, and this is only the digital version as well, and maybe I've been spoiled by the fact that I mostly buy like video games and stuff on sale on Steam. Like maybe I would spend like $20 or $30 on a game, and I never pay the full price because games go on sale like immediately on Steam. Like 6 months in, they're on sale. So when I saw this price for GTA 6 on the PlayStation Store, it's like $130 for the base game, and you don't get the physical disc anymore, which I think is a bit of a problem because like you cannot share it, you cannot have it if the internet is down. Obviously, there's updates and stuff like that, but physical media I still feel like is really important. And yes, my Brighton, I have also thought about this. I feel like they delayed a lot of that, and I know in GTA 5 they were removing a lot of that woke stuff. Like a lot of the jokes, apparently over time, that the jokes that existed in 2013, over time, they removed all of it and they sanitized it. So for GTA 6, I feel like for anybody expecting it to be really politically incorrect or anything like that, I feel like expectations should be somewhat lower because I don't think it is going to be like that. In fact, I am leaning more towards they might have those cringy millennial writing, quirk chungus, bullshit type jokes in there instead of what it used to be like. Because, you know, it happens to a lot of video games. They all go that path. We hope GTA is something that would escape that, but we'll see. But $130 for the base one, $160 for the ultimate is insane. That was on the PlayStation Store. I believe it probably is the same on Xbox. We'll have to see how it turns out. But apparently, if it's already broken 39 million pre-orders, made $3 billion in revenue, and it's only been what, like four days or something like that. They've already made back all the money that they spent on developing this game, which is crazy. It is the cultural. It stands in a different criteria, on a different plane of existence to all types of media. I feel like because nothing else, no movies, nothing else could do this. It's a product that is not even out yet, and it is printing billions of dollars, which is insane to me. Just absolutely insane. But if you are in Australia, this is also unfortunate. You would have to dish out a fuck ton of money. And yes, Red Eyed Roos official, I do believe we could have won that game against the US in the second half. The referee, who has been previously disqualified for match fixing, Donald Trump must have sent him a briefcase full of cash before the game started. But also, for that game's loss, I do have to somewhat blame the Australian coach, because after a really great showing against Turkey in the first game, he panicked against the Americans. Maybe he saw that the Americans were so good, he panicked and changed his entire starting lineup, and it was shit. Like, yeah, he panicked, and unfortunately, I feel like that is probably why his his plan failed. But once he made those changes again, they did a lot better. They did significantly better, and I honestly thought they could genuinely come back, but unfortunately that didn't end up happening. Now, the other thing for I figured I would do this towards the end of the stream, just talk about something other than geopolitics. This movie, Supergirl, apparently is not doing so well, and Variety is they are a bunch of shills. You know, have a have a female superhero, add in the buzzwords, add in the propaganda, and they'll give these movies a really great score. But apparently, this is one of the worst superhero movies that even they have experienced. Yeah, look, I like Matty Ryan. I think he's a legend, Red Eyes Ruse. But I also feel like Beach has showed that he is really good. He's fantastic. And there was a kid, an 18-year-old kid who played for Australia. Apparently, Barcelona are looking to actually get him into their academy, which I'm hoping. I actually tagged, obviously, the president of Barcelona isn't going to read my tweets, but I tagged him and said, hey, sign up this kid. Because if you nurture that sort of talent, imagine, goes to play in Europe somewhere, and then, yeah, Australia would have a fantastic defensive player there as well. On top of Boss, he was really good. He is a player to watch. He is the player who has impressed me the most out of all the Socceroos this year. And yeah, this Supergirl movie, I'll be honest with you guys, I feel like a movie like when you think of DC, what do you think? You think of the big ones, you think of Superman, you think of Batman. For a female superhero, you think of Wonder Woman, arguably the most iconic female superhero of all time. And you think about the Flash, Green Lantern. This is what you think about. So I you know what? I was looking forward to what James Gunn could probably do with his reboot of the DC universe, and I actually enjoyed the new Superman movie as well. But this was a really weird direction to have taken. And I think they have made a horrendous error by putting up a movie like this that not a lot of people care about. Not a lot of people know the Supergirl story, the Supergirl movie. Full Metal Angel, thank you very much for giving me that follow on Twitch. We are headed over towards that 50. You are some of my first followers on the platform, so if you have just joined me on YouTube, please head on over to Twitch. I've pinned the link in the YouTube chat. Give me a follow over there. I'm trying to get to 50 by the end of July. Probably, like I said, I might be the only ex-Muslim streamer on there. So we're going to try and make that a thing. And hopefully grow a bit of following there as well. Yeah, when it comes to this movie, I just don't get it. I would have assumed something like this would go straight to streaming. And then they could sort of pick it up from there, but it's not getting a lot of good reviews. Like, God, this is funny. Yeah. Yeah, it's not, people aren't perceiving it really well, and I saw this video going really viral, and it's the same thing that the girl from Snow White did. What was it? What was her name? Rachel Zegler. The exact same thing that she did. I don't know why a lot of these stars do not have like PR agents or supervisors or assistants or whatever who tell them, hey, let's not say some bullshit on camera before the movie comes out. Because these are sensitive subjects. Don't politicize it. Don't become one of those cringe, millennial type people. Like, don't do any of that. Just talk about how good the movie is. Talk about how it's going to be accurate to the comic books. And people who read that, they'll enjoy it. Talk about all of that. But no, They can never help
Discussion
themselves.
online about Kara's queerness in the comics. Was that something that you explored when you were preparing for the role?
It wasn't, but in honor of Pride Month, as I'm getting all these questions, I don't know. I think that what makes this film so beautiful is that it's not centered around a man. It's not centered around love at all. If anything.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I don't really know, but I don't know. I don't know.
It's
I don't know.
great.
She'd probably go both ways.
Yeah, look, I feel like this is a really weird way to even say that. Like, do you need to say that it's not centered around a man or doesn't follow a romance story? Because I feel like that almost immediately makes it come across as like she's, you know, being adverse. She's targeting a potential audience. And who do these people think go to watch nerdy comic book movies? It is nerdy comic book fans who mostly happen to be men. Which is exactly why, yeah, I saw a comment here. What is it? Thank you very much, Skeptico, for that follow on Twitch. Really, really appreciate that. Full Metal Angel. Yeah, you said this gives me flashbacks to the Captain Marvel movie. This is exactly what I thought as well. Because if you guys recall, there was this video that during their promotions, there was Captain Marvel. So there was her, Thor, and I believe some other guy, and they were talking about the strongest superhero. Everybody knows. But then she made it such a point to try and diminish Chris Hemsworth and just say that, you know, Thor isn't that strong. Like, my character is the strongest and all of that, despite only having like one movie and the rest just flopping, really. And people just hate that character so much. And I feel like once you saw that, it kind of wrote the blueprint as to what not to do before your movie is even out. And Captain Marvel made all that money primarily because it, I believe it printed like $1 billion because it was the movie before Endgame, which is why people tuned in. But the movie that came after, what was it called? I can't even remember what it was called. The movie that had the three of them in it. Marvels or something. I don't even know. That's how much I cared about that. Yeah, that came out and nobody watched it. It was a massive flop. And I believe even the show they made, was it Miss Marvel? Yeah, even that flopped. So everything like that, they flop because they just naturally go towards disrespecting their fan base. And it is yeah, Quadrex, I'm laughing at your comment, Captain Caveman. Yeah. Unfortunately. Oh god. People are really trying that meme at the moment. No, Matt Walsh, I actually think there is a movie that went really well, and that was the first Wonder Woman movie, which I actually quite enjoyed. I don't think Gal Gadot did anything like that at the very start. But that movie was really good. But this year, there is one movie that I am probably going to skip at the cinema, and that is The Odyssey. I have no intention of seeing that movie. Genuinely. I don't know about you guys, but these days, I feel like if a piece of media makes it their mission to mock the audience, mock the source material, and do all that nonsense that nobody likes apart from a vocal minority, I'm just like, yeah, I'm not spending money on that. I'm not going to go watch it. And I'm just going to mostly ignore all that. And I've done that with games as well. Like, really enjoyed The Last of Us. Last of Us 2, completely ignored it. I've still not played it, and I don't plan on doing so. Even if someone gave it to me for free on Steam, I'm not going to play that. Like, that is where I'm at. And I feel like a lot of people are following essentially the exact same type of idea, where they're just completely disregarding media that disrespects them or mocks them and does all that. and it saddens me to say this because Christopher Nolan is one of my favorite directors of all time. Like, love the Dark Knight movies. Inception, Interstellar is probably top 3 favorite movies of all time. And the first time I watched Dunkirk, didn't enjoy it as much, but now I've rewatched it a few times, and I feel like I really like that movie now as well. The only one I can't really get through is Tenet. I've seen it a couple times, and I don't know. I just can't bring myself to like it very much. But that is where I'm at, and I feel like a lot of people are moving that. Helen of Detroit. Yeah, that's right. There's another joke they make about James Bond being cast as, I don't know if you've heard this joke. Yeah, James Bond, if they were saying if he got cast as a non-white English person, he was going to introduce himself as Bond, Bail Bond. Anyway, actually, that reminds me. Even Harry Potter, what they did with Snape, I have no idea, no fucking idea why they went that way. Because even the books describe Snape as a really pale, almost sickly pale type of person, and yet they've gone and decided, yeah, okay, I am going to change that as well. Because you know what, I actually don't know why. I don't know why they would have changed that, because the original Snape, he was so good, and his mannerisms and the way he was acted out was just fantastic. I don't know why they found the need to change that. Well, Anonymous Australian, the show or piece of media, I don't know if it's going to be a movie, but Henry Cavill's Warhammer project is probably what I'm really looking forward to, because I think he left The Witcher because he was unhappy with where the creative direction was going. Yeah, Alan Rickman did a great job, fantastic job. And you know, every year I watch Die Hard over Christmas, and Alan Rickman, every time I see him, I'm like, this is just so good. Like, he's brilliant as the villain. And with that funny accent he puts up as well. But yeah, I really hope Henry Cavill, whether it be a movie or a show, I hope it's like a really serious show like that does the Horus Heresy. I don't know if they have that sort of budget to do the entire Horus Heresy yet. I don't know if Amazon has given that to him. But my hopes are high because he is someone who walked off a big Netflix show with a massive following behind it because of the Witcher games. He left it because he didn't feel like Netflix were respecting the source material and all of that, and you know, they had to recast it. Which is why I feel like if he does Warhammer, and I know he's a bit of a nerd over that, I hope he's able to do a great job, and I'm looking forward to that. Although ever since they announced that project, I don't think there has been many. There has been an update to that. Like, I haven't heard about anything moving that project forward. But you know what? I have since become quite a fan of Warhammer and the lore behind it. And I've been loving it. And now, because this is our little variety bit, I don't know if you guys noticed, like, actually behind me, I have some of the Warhammer bits that I've painted. Is this my last one? Yeah, this is actually my latest one. I don't know if I can. My camera is actually really far away, so I tried to put in a little bit of texture. Not really too happy with this ultramarine here. But like, I don't play the tabletop game or anything. I just love painting. So just really like doing it in my off time. My desk is now on top of everything I do for videos, just full of paint and that. And the latest project that I have got going is a Dark Angel. We're going a bit green this time instead of the ultramarines and blue. So hopefully that I can probably share as well. I have played Space Marine 2. Yes, I have. Really, really enjoyed it. But you know what I have been enjoying even more? Rogue Trader, which I've been playing on PC. I feel like if you want to get into Warhammer, instead of Space Marine 2 or the previous Space Marine, Rogue Trader is probably where you need to start. It's fantastic. Obviously, you don't get to play as a really sick Space Marine, but you get to play as a Rogue Trader. And if you like Baldur's Gate, that is something you would enjoy. You know what? Actually, the missus is not. I think she's going to a play or something tonight. So if I have some time, I might just jump on stream and do some Rogue Trader. See because that's what I was going to say. What I was going to do. So might as well just stream it and see what see if anyone wants to jump in and enjoy me just talking shit on stream like that. All right, let me just, before I end it off, let me look through some of your comments, see if there are any questions that I have missed. But if you have any questions as well right now, pop it in the comment section. I'll try to get to it, and then we can wrap it up. You know what? On the day I get rid of this mask, what I'm gonna do is probably do more, like make sure these streams go on for a little bit longer. 2 hours is a lot to do with this mask on, but hopefully I can once that day comes, and that day I think is not too far away, we'll do longer streams as well. Let's see. Space Hulk. I'm not actually sure. I don't know if I've heard of Space Hulk before. But if it is anything related to Warhammer, I've been reading the books as well. Definitely would love to check it out and see how it goes. And yeah, someone said J.K. Rowling, she doesn't really care. Yeah, I don't actually think she cares either. You the thing about her is she's actually quite progressive. I know like a lot of progressives have. Yeah, red-eyed Roots. It is unfortunate, and I know a number of apostates when they have made videos, either they don't appear on camera at all, which is what I used to do, or they wear a mask. But a lot of them wear like just normal, like, you know, a black mask, like a one of those hospital masks and whatnot. And I was like, I'm not gonna do that. I love the Cyberpunk 2077 game. Loved the aesthetics, and also the Oni mask actually has a deeper meaning behind it. So I was like, yeah, if I'm gonna mask up and appear on screen, I am probably going to do something a little bit different to to other apostates. But yeah, like J.K. Rowling, like she you know what? Progressives hate her now. I don't think she'll find many allies within the progressive movement anymore, because she has such strong opinions on the transgender movement. I don't think it's going to be a thing anymore. Like she is an apostate. Let's call it that way. She has been given the ex-Muslim treatment by progressives. And I know, like, it is very dangerous for her as well. Like, people have threatened her life. They've said shit ton of stuff like that. Put on a samurai mask. I mean, this is something this, well, not entirely, is it? But was there a specific Oni mask that samurai warriors wore? I don't know, but I can potentially try to wear the whole getup. Maybe for Halloween or something, I'll change up my mask. But the big problem, you know, that I face when I'm wearing the mask is it actually presses on my nose a lot, so I can't do it for too long. Plus, in long streams like that for 2 hours, I have this beautiful can of Monster Energy, and I can't have a sip of it. Oh, that I would love to do. And yes, Shamesh, I have only just started. Today is my first stream, and in fact, that makes you one of my first followers on Twitch. I actually got invited to go and stream on Twitch. So I was like, you know what, I actually quite like the platform. Um, so I figured I would just sign up and do dual streaming, and in the future, honestly, I do want to just do it primarily on Twitch because I feel like for live streaming, like it is just a better platform. It really is. Like you've got like all the funny ways the emojis work, and I feel like the audience is mostly primed for Twitch, which is why I prefer it as a streaming platform. Jackie Boy AE, thank you very much for following. I don't know, maybe we could get to 10 before we close off. So if you guys haven't followed me on Twitch yet, definitely jump on. We'll try and get those three, and then that'll be fantastic. We have emojis and stuff that is exclusive on Twitch. Let's see how they look like. Yeah, these are pretty. I actually quite like these. There are actually 2 more emojis that apparently need approval from, that are awaiting approval before they can. Slim and Jim, thank you very much for that follow. This is fantastic. If you haven't done so, jump on. Just need just hoping to get 2 more, and then we can be like, yeah, that was a successful day. Which is fantastic. But you know what? After a very long time, almost 3 months off streaming, we actually got quite a number of streamers, people joining in today. I think we got close to 80 people, which is good because I'm not someone who streams very often. I feel like if I do, we can probably get that number really high, maybe to a couple hundred, which is yeah, Quadrex. Actually, that is what I've done before. I always put myself on Be Right Back and go and have my monster because I can't live without it. This is what fuels me. This is not an endorsement or anything like that, but Monster Energy, the zero sugar ones, that is what fuels me. It keeps me going. Oh, excellent, Slipping Jim. That's fantastic to hear. You know what? The good thing is, like on top of politics, yeah, I like nerding out as well. I read books, like I've been reading Warhammer books. I'm a painter of these Warhammer stuff. I got these collectibles behind me, so you know what, and I think gaming, unless I'm doing painting, some sort of artwork, gaming is what I do. Um, and I love just getting deep into these single player games. What are you playing at the moment, Slipping Jim? I don't really play a lot of multiplayer games these days. Um, but these days, oh, Quadrex, that's fantastic. Yeah, thank you very much for jumping in. Always glad to have you guys. Yeah. Uh, you know what? I have thought about that. I always thought streams, you know what? Like we can talk about politics, but streams are so impromptu. Like you can just talk about. I always get off track, talk about multiple things, but I've really enjoyed connecting with people like who have multiple other interests. The thing is, I feel like my audience compared to a lot of people in my niche are actually younger. I would think compared to a lot of um whether it be ex-Muslims or people who are critical of Islam or talk about Islam, politics, and that sort of thing. I actually do think my audience generally leans a lot younger, which is why I feel like it's been pretty great whenever I talk about games or movies, media, anything like that. Like people are always like, yeah, you know what? Here's my opinion on that as well, and like I can talk about it, and people just listen and put in their opinions as well, which I've really enjoyed. And that is why like I really appreciate you guys and the audience that I have genuinely been able to uh build on YouTube over time. Um, I'm 43. Yeah, fantastic. That is great. I have such like, even when it comes to countries, it is so weird to me sometimes. Like I would never think there are people tuning in from, like, I think I said the Netherlands, and then I even get like the Philippines, and other Eastern European countries, and I'm always like, what the hell? Like, I would have never thought I would get audiences from these countries, but then again, here we are. I really, yeah, really appreciate that. Metal Gear, love Metal Gear. That is what I've got back there, and I actually have 3 posters. Usually, you only see 2. What I do have on my left, on the far left, is Baldur's Gate 3, and obviously, you guys are familiar with the Mass Effect poster there. And if you didn't know, the mask up top, because we were talking about masks or Oni masks, the one up there is actually the one that I used to wear at the start. But the problem was that was really hard for me to speak through. And I don't know if you guys know, but I have mesh. This is like a mesh texture, like a mesh cloth. So my voice actually comes out easier. And Dan, yeah, I do think turn-based games are frowned upon a bit. Like, I feel like a lot of people need immediate action rather than, like a bit of strategy and something like that. Yeah, I do. Like, uh, uh, Tabakiv. Am I saying your name right? Tabakiv. Yeah, you are right. Like, I only, that wasn't on purpose. I only realized it, like, after I got off that printed. I was like, wait a minute. It seems like I really like the 3rd version of a trilogy. And, yeah. Oh, your mum's Wi-Fi. Yeah, okay. Okay, now I know who you are. Sometimes, like, the same people, like when I see them on different platforms, I'm like, unless you tell me what one of them is, like, I probably wouldn't recognize you. Like, it's the same on, like, whether it's Patreon or even X. Like, a lot of people from Discord and elsewhere follow me on X, and unless, like, they tell me, hey, I'm this person, I'm like, oh crap, they know that because of your username. Fantastic. Well, all right, guys, it is 11 a.m. here in Australia. Really appreciate you guys, for those of you who joined me today. And even those of you who gave me follows on Twitch, you are some of my first followers. Really appreciate that. I know I have 7 viewers at the moment on Twitch. You know what? It might seem like a small figure, but it is not 0. Most people on Twitch, the first time they stream, they will get 0 live viewers. So 7 is a lot. It's 7 times. Let's look at it this way. It's 7 times what a typical first stream would get. So really appreciate it, guys. Obviously, this stream, if you have missed it, for my European followers and that, it will be available for you to rewatch both on Twitch and also on YouTube. I will probably clip up some parts and make a full video and put it up for everybody else to have a look at it. But otherwise, I really hope you enjoy the rest of your Saturday. I'm going to go hit the gym. I've been trying to skip out on it a little bit this week because I got a new tattoo. If you are a fan of anime, I have now got Uchiha Itachi on my arm to complete my tattoo. Got pain at the front. So, yeah, just been recovering off that. But I think today is the day I can go and finally hit the gym after a week off. So, oh, Franca, I am unfortunately heading off now, but thank you very much for joining. 3 a.m. in Germany. Love Germany. In fact, there is a video about Germany I am about to do very soon. So hopefully you'll enjoy that as well. But once again, thank you very much for joining in. Really appreciate all of you. And hopefully I can do another stream tonight for my European and also Australian audience. And we'll do a more impromptu one there. Thank you all. Enjoy the day. And I will speak to you next time.